Just think about you going to a clinic. You go to the clinic, but the number of forms that you need to fill. When you will go out of the clinic, they will the first thing that the nurse will tell you, you can't move out of the clinic if you're not paid. Okay, yes, thanks. Can you do that in 10 minutes, please? No, 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 it can take 1.5 hours. So you've just undergone a surgery, you've spent 1 week in the clinic, and they tell you we need to wait for 2 hours to get the bill. So we need to take into consideration a totally changed context. We've been hearing about customer 1.0, where it was focusing on product. I want a product that meets my needs. This is from the customer's perspective. Then we were talking about, in the 1950s, 1990s, about customer 2.0. I want a brand that I can trust. The next era, 3.0, was about, I want a captivating and personalized customer's experience. But one of the common themes of these 3 eras has been, it's about the business getting the customer to come to them, and not as opposed to the 4.0 concept, the business moving to the customer and trying to. This is one of the key differences between the previous customer's perspective, where business was not going to the customer, whilst the 4.0 focuses on customers being met, in fact, by businesses. We know also that the expectations have changed because technology has changed significantly. So irrespective of the industry, whether it is shopping, banking and entertainment, you now have a movie, cinema at home. But we know also that it's not about just technology. Industrial revolution talks about different opening hours, product offers, different locations, really on-premise, and the interaction with the customer was predominantly offline. With 4.0, we are talking about online and offline. We are talking about meeting customers' expectation anytime, anywhere, and for anything, in fact. But the 4.0 focuses on also, apart from technology, product quality, convenience. This is the anytime, anywhere. Customization. I want still to have a personalized service. And I want also brand integrity. So somehow this 4.0 renders the situation more complex and complicated because it encompasses what the previous eras were asking, as well as topping up with the need to have information anytime and anywhere. The other thing that I think complicates the situation is that today we have 4 different generations to deal with. The baby boomers, which were about write to me, the X generation call me, then the other one was about emailing, and the next is text or send me a WhatsApp. So this is very important when you define your customer's journey. You need to know who are your customers, where do they come from? And a small parenthesis, this also applies for your employees. Today you are facing different employees from different generations who will have different needs. I often say to my younger colleagues who join MCB Consulting, if I'm not happy with a report or a presentation that you've done, when you meet me in the corridor, you can't block me. You still have to say good morning, because this is how the new generation will deal with. You're upset with a comment, you block someone, you stop talking to him. But in the real life, this is totally different. So we need, when we talk about customer's journey, to be mindful about the fact that our customers can come from different generations. My mom is 80 years old. She can use WhatsApp, she can go on YouTube, she can do SMS banking, but she will never use internet banking. So her having been a loyal customer of a bank, would that mean that today, where the focus is on digitalization, that she can no more be a client of the bank? No. So one of the key pointers that you need to take into consideration is that you are facing customers, employees of different generations. So you need to address their distinct needs, and they do have distinct needs. Obviously, distinct needs, but also with the help of technologies. We talk about AI, we talk about virtual reality, we talk about augmented reality, and also the advent of 5Gs. This definitely will impact the way you deal with your customers. What about Mauritius? We've all gone through lockdown. We've all had to purchase things on the net. And if I just ask a quick question, who were pretty much satisfied with the level of service that you were getting from online orders? If you're agreeable to this statement very generally, lift up your hand. Who were not happy? Okay. Right, I was not happy too. Right. I'm sure a lot of you have gone through this. A lot of promises during the lockdown that you will be able to order, and we try to order. Sorry, we cannot satisfy your order. We will refund you back, but obviously the refund takes 2 weeks to come, not the payment. So, but we know also, look at the customer's experience of Mauritius. We've invested a lot in a biometric ID card, but still we have a manual driving license. Why can't we have combined the two? Customer's experience. You have an ID, but you still need to drive with your driving license. Why can't you have one single thing? We talk about utility bills. We don't have a mobile app for utility bills. We could. What about parking meters, which are archaic and which are not using QR codes? And we are still using paper. So cutting trees, not very eco-friendly. Whereas we have the possibility with the technology we've invested into to make all this happen. So not so much you. And I can't do otherwise than talk about the impact of COVID-19. Clearly, it has accelerated the quest for digitalization or digitizing. And I do make a difference between the two. Look at the statistics, how in UK, a quite sophisticated market, where the advent of COVID has transformed the way people shop, the way people interact with retail shops. We've all been affected. The work from home quest or folly. How many of you have adopted work from home policy in your organization? Hands up, right. And how many of you have rejected the idea of adopting a work from home policy? No. How many of you are entirely satisfied with the productivity out of a work from home? Okay. How many of you are fans of a hybrid model? Work from home and on-premise? Okay, right. So clearly this work from home policy would not have been able if you had not invested in technology. That's simple. The advent of Teams, Zoom, Skype for Business, and all this. But how many of you have also undertaken a survey? One, with your employees, two, with your customers following the lockdown, the removal of the lockdown procedures. So raise up for employee survey. Okay, raise hands up for customer survey. Right. So the majority of us has not tried to obtain a feedback on two types of customers, your employees and your customers, external customers. This is very important also in determining the customer's journey. Get their feedback. You need to know what they think, what they've been through. Have your staff been happy? What are the difficulties they've gone through working from home? And it's not very easy to work from home. For those who've got kids, working from home with your kids, looking after their studies, not very, very easy. Those living in an apartment, no room to play. Whilst the kids have been able to, were used to play outside. So in the previous presentation, there was a question about what is the impact on COVID on children, and definitely it can have an impact. So my suggestion also is try to seek the feedback of your employees first. how have they gone through this survey, how they've gone through this lockdown, what can be improved, because whether we like it or not, there's a strong probability that there can be a second round of lockdown. So get prepared for this. Same logic applies to your customers. What has gone well? What has not gone well during the lockdown? And what can you improve, again, to enhance the customer's experience? So a few, not lessons, but a few pointers that I would like to share with you. When we determine the customer's experience, on top of the fact that we need to take into consideration the different generations that we have to face now, and the leverage that we can make on technology, one very, very important aspect is to have a clearly defined segmentation strategy. And segmentation strategy is no more just about mathematics or demographics. It's much more than this. Do you have a segmentation strategy for your different type of segments that is transformating, that has a vision, that clearly spells out your business competitive advantage, and that from this determines the right business campaigns that you need to make? Again, one of the things that I've often seen on mainland Africa is that with the contrast between internet penetration and mobile penetration, if you do campaigns on the internet, on the social media in Africa, the output, the rate of return will be very low, because the penetration of internet in Africa is very, very low. But whilst if you use SMS, USSD, the impact will be much better, the ROI will be much better. So make sure also that you have well identified your different segments, you have a strong transformative vision per segment, mindful of the different generations that you have in your customer database. One of the very often myths that I do face is the lack of distinction between digitalization and digitizing. When you digitize, you just use technology to do the same thing, but a bit much better. When you digitalize, you really take the step back and try to transform the way you do business with the help of technology. So make sure that you digitize when there's a need to digitize, and you digitalize when there's a need to digitalize, to ensure a proper rate of return out of it. One of the other important aspects to be mentioned on this digitalization journey is about the change management aspect. Whether it's for your customers, whether it's for your employees, make sure that you prepare them for the change. They've not been used with this piece of technology. They've not been used to this product. Make sure that you spend enough time educating your customers, but also training your employees. Do not forget this very important statistics from the PMI Institute. 9 projects out of 10 fail because of training. So you invest in technology, but you don't invest in training, that's a bound failure. ROI will not be there. When you look also at your customer's experience, one of the very often mistakes made is the fact that we focus on the UX at the front end only. We don't look at the value chain of the organization. Because if you delight your customer at the front end with superb technology that will enhance the customer's experience, very good. But when the back office of your have to treat the increased volume activities, and if they are not sufficiently equipped or trained, the ultimate results will be bad. So make sure that when you engage yourself in this customer's experience journey transformation, you really focus on the value chain perspective. Very, very often organizations think that, yes, they've got a lot of increased revenue or potential positive impact on the bottom line if they focus on the front end side. No, you can save as much money as the front end if you were also making your procedures lean. in the middle office and in the back office. So make sure that your focus is not at the front end only, but across the value chain of the organization. And that covers all areas, whether they are your back office operations, your support operations like finance, HR, IT, marketing. Make sure that everyone is concerned in this digitalization journey. When we talk about customers' experience, we very often also refer to business process re-engineering. You've all heard about this. My key pointers here is make sure that you get the pecking order of your business process re-engineering right. So for me, the pecking order should be as follows. Make sure that your strategic intents are clear. Why do you do a BPR? To improve cost-to-income ratio, to improve risk management, to enhance customers' experience, the external customers' experience with less form-filling forms. Just think about you going to a clinic. You go to the clinic, but the number of forms that you need to fill. When you will go out of the clinic, the first thing that the nurse will tell you, you can't move out of the clinic if you're not paid. Okay? Yes, thanks. Can you do that in 10 minutes, please? No, it can take 1.5 hours. So you've just undergone a surgery, you've spent 1 week in the clinic, and they tell you we need to wait for 2 hours to get the bill. Unfortunately, last time that I was unfortunately in clinic, I told a lady, look, it will take you 2 hours, I give you 2 hours. I will be moving from my room because I've just undergone a surgery when you are ready. Don't tell me that I will have to pay for more because you are inefficient and I'm paying for this. So when we look at the customer's experience, we look at the business process re-engineering, make sure that you've got the strategy right. This is the first step. Technology is just an enabler. Strategy is more important. What do you want to achieve? Risk management, efficiency, increased revenue, enhance customer's experience. Then you determine the next step, the key business processes linked to these strategies. The first step will be look at what is already being provided by your ERP, your other core systems that you have within your organization. Because you've already invested a lot into technology. Why would you deprive yourself from the standard out-of-the-box functionalities that can make you be leaner? The other step is obviously to document. And this is the fifth step, and this is something also that I've seen very often. The focus on RPA is at the beginning of the business process re-engineering. No, the focus of RPA should be after you've set out the strategy, after you've seen what you can derive from your existing system, after you've redesigned from a principles perspective the process. Then you use RPA to make sure that it is, I don't know whether there's anyone in the financial sector today here. Anyone? So just imagine a RPA for your KYC or for your anti-money laundering procedures. What is more important? It's not the technology. Business rules, false positive. If you don't get this right, how would RPA help? So clearly, technology should be a business enabler, and RPA should come last. The other thing that I need to stress again, remember this stat, 9 projects out of 10 fail because of lack of training or ineffective training. Make sure that you train your staff on the new technologies, on the new process. Make sure also that you evaluate the knowledge of the staff before you go live, not after you go live, because that should be a critical success factor to decide whether you can go live or not with your enhanced process, new piece of technology, evaluating the knowledge of your staff. We've been used to talk about single channels, now you talk about omni-channels. You develop a platform, you develop a process that can speak to the needs of the different channels. We've also thought very essential, I would say, design principle in this omni-channel strategy. Get the design principles right. Don't try to build a process that can only be used for the single channel, for on-premise. Make sure that as far as possible, the customer receives the same type of experience, as far as possible. It should not be a copy and paste, but try to leverage. Try to build something that meets the needs of the different channels. So that you can determine the journey, you need also to have in place the necessary IT architecture. You develop a process that would work on the web, but that should work also on your mobile app. Don't have two applications, two different customers' experience. Though we know when you talk about web, you talk about a mobile app, the key differentiating factor will be only your customer's experience, the UX. This is the only thing that should change, but the foundations should be the same. You seem to really agree. I feel that you've gone through tough times recently, right? Okay. Address the customer's paradox, right? We have customers that are more sophisticated, that have access to more information, that will shop around, that will not be loyal, right? So you need to build closer relationships with them, particularly in the advent of COVID. They might not be using you, but you need to keep close to them. They are going, just as you, through tough times. And I still believe that loyalty, trusted relationship is your main driver of your ROI at the end of the day. So you need to have this personalized, a mail, depending on your generation, a mail, a call, WhatsApp to your customers asking how they are would clearly help. So, but at the same time, that customers, with the help of technology, want everything, anytime, anywhere. We know that there are risks and challenges. The invasion to privacy. How many of you are fed up of receiving emailing on your mailbox, flooded, or for those who are on Facebook, a lot of messages. We have the risk of data leaks. I don't have enough time to share with you a few examples, but you all know that this is a serious risk when you engage yourself in the digitalization strategy or you invest in technology, cyber crimes. You don't need to have a gun to steal money now. You can be on the beach and closing a company, right? And we know also that today we need to take into consideration the different data protection regulations. What we used to do in terms of marketing is not so clear today, or is better ring-fenced. So make sure also when you establish this customer's experience journey, you do take into consideration the different restrictions or opportunities of the data protection regulations. You want to enhance your customer being a staff by moving your HR system on cloud. Fine, very good. Yes, because you want him to have access to the HR system. No one told me what happened to your company, by the way. I don't even know for whom you work, right? But gone through this before. So you move your HR data on the cloud. Yes, because you want to give access to local leaves, empower your staff to update the details, make sure that he's in control of his personal data. Make sure that you've got, I know I've got 2 minutes, make sure that he sign up the authorization to have his personal data on the cloud. Focus here is, we talk about hardware, we talk about software, but don't forget about the hardware. At the end of the day, we still need people to run the show. So make sure that you share the vision of your transformation program. You communicate to them appropriately why there's a need for this, what are the potential benefits. Make sure you train them, you retrain them, or you recruit the appropriate people to be able to do this. When you talk about customers' experience, we also focus a lot on customer data. So the need for perhaps data scientists, there might be a need to recruit different type of people when you cannot reskill. I like this statement from, the guy, I don't need to tell you who he is, Branson, the focus on employees. When you establish your customer's journey, do not forget that your first customer is your employee. So if I had time, I would have asked you to share with me how does your induction course look like? Is it a exciting journey? Recently, we recruited we recruited some guys at MCB Consulting. So the HR went through the induction course, and it was about form filling. But yet, we usually give a backpack, a notebook, and a polo to our staff. And our HR forgot to give this. So but focus on, yes, give me your birth certificate, give me your medical certificate, blah, 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 blah. So don't forget that your induction program as part of the customer's journey is as important as your external customer's journey. Your employees are your first brand ambassadors. Make sure that they understand the values of the organization, that they leave the organization, they leave the values of the organization too. Data, I've talked rapidly about it. You know it's important. You know why you need to invest in technology. But data analytics will not work without data. Make sure that you have technology, you have the business mindset to transform data into information. Technology, yes. Data, yes, yes, yes. And only with this you can transform data into information to be able to take the right decision. I've talked about it. Be at the forefront in terms of customers' feedback. Obviously, customer survey are as good as the questions that we ask. Make sure that you ask the right questions that will meet your objectives, what you want to achieve through this survey. So the continuous need to do customer survey. Don't forget, you need to go back to your office and do a survey for your customers after the lockdown. Huh? Conclusion. You've heard me, you need technology, very good, but strategy first. Make sure that you know what you want to achieve. Technology is only a business enabler. And please avoid the copy and paste cliche. We need to determine the needs, the constraints of your own segment. And it's not the same segment as your competitor. Make sure that you learn from the others, but you don't fall into the trap of copy and pasting. Don't forget also, we often talk about the UX, UI perspective. Yes, very, very good. But the foundation is very important also, your ERP, your HR system, and all this. Value chain, not just UI, UX. The need for new talents that can be derived through reskilling, training, or recruitments. The hardware side, making sure that you are able to educate people about your vision, why you need to change, what are the benefits, why they need to embrace this change. And keep tracking the benefits, the ROI, which could be through surveys, which could be with quantifying the benefits of your customers, transform customers' experience, like the drop in complaints, the increased sales that you have on products.